Today we're in Athens, Greece, and we're going to tour the Acropolis. Acropolis meaning high city, which makes sense because this ancient city is inside a fortified wall atop a mountain here in Athens, Greece. And of course you know the Parthenon, and we're going to check that out and see the amazing view from atop the hill. But there's so much more to the Acropolis than that. I've done some research and I'm going to try to tell you all the significance of all the different landmarks here in the Sacred Rock. Here we have the Temple of Athena Nike. Many of the gods and goddesses would have epithets or descriptions or characteristics at the end of their name. For Athena, it was Athena Nike. Nike was the winged goddess of victory. She became famous because her and her sisters were the first to line up to help Zeus in the battle of the gods versus the Titans. This pleased Zeus so much that he invited Nike and her sisters to come live among him on Mount Olympus. This is the Pedestal of Agrippa, named after Marcus Agrippa, the son-in-law of Roman Emperor Octavian Augustus. This was originally built after one of the ancient kings won a chariot race at the Panathenaic Games. Today we only have the pedestal instead of the bronze chariot with the rider on top. The pedestal stands 9 meters tall. This is the west and formal entrance of the Acropolis. This is the Propylaia. It was important to make sure that the right people and only the right people got in because of all of the amazing things that happened here. From the fact that you have the Temple of Athena, the treasury, and all of the sacred rituals which were performed here in the Acropolis. After walking through the west gate of the Propylaia, you would see the huge statue called Athena Promachos, which means Athena fights in the front line. And she was geared up and ready for battle with her spear in her right hand and her shield in her left hand. This statue stood so tall that you could see it over the fortified walls, over the rest of the monuments here. And it was so big that you could see it from the city and from the sea. This is the Brauroneion, or the Sanctuary of Artemis Brauronia. This comes from the goddess of the hunt, Artemis. She was famous many places, but one place where she was really popular was in Brauron. So we have this temple that was here dedicated to the goddess of the hunt. There was 2 statues in here at the time, one wood statue and one made out of marble. The head of the marble statue inside of this temple is currently in the Acropolis Museum. There was also the Chalkotheke, where the Athenian bronze, metals, and weapons were stored. This is the Parthenon. This was named after the virgin goddess Athena, which was the goddess of war and wisdom. There was 3 different buildings that were here at this site. One temple that was destroyed after the Athenians beat the Persians in battle. And then the Persians came back and destroyed that second temple, that older Parthenon. And the third Parthenon temple that was built here is the one you see today. This is an amazing achievement of architecture. This whole thing was built without computers or fancy tools. Inside there was a huge statue to Athena, Athena Parthenos. And in her right outstretched hand, she had the goddess Nike, the winged goddess of victory, in her hand inside of this temple. The temples were designed so that viewers didn't even need to enter them to see the statues and some of the other things inside of it. This temple has been through a lot. It survived fires, wars, explosions, and it still stands today. With the way that it looks after almost 2,500 years, we can only imagine what it would look like in all of its glory. This is the old temple of Athena, dedicated to Athena Polieus. Polieus meaning protector of the city. It sits between the Parthenon and the Erechtheion and was built around 500 to 525 BC. The Erechtheion was built on uneven ground, and its most popular aspect is the Porch of the Maidens, where there are 6 draped figures or caryatids that are here. Unfortunately, out of the 6 ones that are here, they're all exact replicas. 5 of them being at the Acropolis Museum and the 6th being in the British Museum. Lord Elgin, when he was here, along with half of the frieze of the Parthenon, took one of the caryatid figures. So they had to move the other 5 to the Acropolis Museum. And legend has it that on the night that their sister was taken, the remaining 5 caryatids could be heard wailing here at the Erechtheion. There are two main patron saints or gods of the Acropolis. One, Athena, who we've seen her temple here, who is known as Athena Polieus, protector of the city, or Athena Nike, for Athena victory. The other one is Poseidon, known as Poseidon Erechtheion as this epithet, which is named after Erechtheion, one of the first kings of Athens. So the two kind of got into a little bit of a battle over who should be the patron saint of the city. Poseidon, with his trident, Poseidon, the king of the sea, struck the Acropolis with his trident, creating a salt spring. Athena's gift to the Athenians was an olive tree and the secret behind how to grow it. This was so amazing to the people that they picked her as a patron saint of the city. Athena was worshipped through the processions and the sacrifices that happened at her altar just east of the old temple and the Erechtheion. The Pandroseion was a sanctuary dedicated to Pandros, one of the daughters of Cecrops the first king of Attica, Greece. It's located in the Acropolis, obviously, and it's occupied the space adjacent to the Erechtheion and the old temple of Athena Polieus. This sanctuary was a walled courtyard containing the altar of Zeus, Herocios, protector of the courtyard. So they would sacrifice offerings to Zeus under that sacred olive tree planted by Athena. The Arrephorion was a small building beside the north wall here in the Acropolis, next to the wall of Pericles. It provided the lodging for the Arrephoros, 4 noble Athenian girls who worked to prepare the peplos, or royal gown, which would be used in the Panathenaic Games. Behind me is the sanctuary of Zeus Polieus, Polieus meaning protector of the city. This was an open-air sanctuary, and we know that there were statues of Zeus here. One of the cool things that happened was upon the altar of Zeus, they would come and put down barley and grain, kind of a mixed offering. And then they'd have an ox prepared already for sacrifice. He would come and they'd have a guy called I think it was a priest called the ox slayer, who would come and kill the ox, throw away the axe and run away. Then someone else would come and take the axe and bring it to trial, pretending like they didn't know who did it. From this spot of the Acropolis, you can see 2 of the 3 different column types. So the capital is the top of the column. Here on the Parthenon, at least on this section right here, we see it's a flat top. That is a Doric column. And then if we pan over here to the Erechtheion, we'll see that they have like a scrolly top, which is an Ionic capital or Ionic column. The Corinthian column has bold, leafy capitals at the very top of the columns. You know, we can see with our own eyes that the temple to Zeus and the temple to Athena are not intact at all, but we do see a great view of the one temple that is still intact here. Here we also have the Olympian site, home of the temple of the Olympian of Zeus. The sanctuary of Pandion is the name sometimes given to the remains of the building on the southeast corner of the Acropolis. Its foundations were discovered during excavations to try to find things for the old Acropolis Museum. The name stems from the presumption that this was a location of a hero shrine of Pandion. The Temple of Roman Augustus was one of the Roman period buildings built centuries after the Parthenon and the rest of the classical buildings on the site. Part of the plan of expansion and beautifications of Athens by Augustus, the building was dedicated by the city of Athens to Rome and Octavian Augustus. The fact that the columns imitated those of the Erechtheion may indicate that the temple was built by the same architect who repaired the Erechtheion after it was damaged by fire. We've reached the Beulé Gate, the formal exit of the Acropolis, built into the fortified wall. And this is just west of the Propylaia where you enter into the Acropolis. We are gonna exit out, but we're not done yet because we have more to check out below on the south slope of the Acropolis. This Roman theater was built by the wealthy public benefactor Herodes Atticus as a memorial to his wife. It's one of the world's oldest open-air theaters. It sat 4,500 people. On the south side of the Acropolis, between the Odeon amphitheater and the Theater of Dionysus, is the Stoa of Eumenes. This was dedicated by King Eumenes II, and Stoa means long series of columns. So this was a covered walkway that people who were visiting the theater could either go between one theater and the next, or they could just go in here and have shelter from the inclement weather in Athens. This is the Asklepieion of Athens. This healing temple was built in honor of the gods Asclepius and Hygeia. Asclepius was the god of medicine and could even bring back people from the dead. Hygeia was his daughter and was personification of health. This is the Choragic monument of Thrasyllos. Choragos was a wealthy Athenian citizen who financed the preparation for a chorus or some other dramatic production that was not paid for by the government. So this memorial building here on the side of the Acropolis was built to commemorate this man. It was built in the form of a small temple and fills the opening of a large natural cave. Here we are on the east slope of the Acropolis. We have a Greek flag up there and the viewing point of the city. And then below here is a cave, and it's the largest cave in the city here on the east side of the Acropolis. As you're going around the Acropolis, you see the sign for this Peripatos. Peripatos was a road, and I guess it still is a path, that circles this sacred rock. And here is another cave. Doesn't have a sign about it, but another cool looking cave. And this is that Peripatos, that path that goes around the Acropolis. What's over there? A turtle. Bonus footage.
Sam?
Mm-hmm. Hello, Mr. Turtle. Don't look like you're by any sort of water. Hopefully you're okay. He's in the shade, so hopefully that's okay. Never know what you're gonna see on the Peripatos. What's this situation?
I'm not sure if it's done yet, but when we were up there, there was some kind of like ramp. So maybe it's for people in wheelchairs, some kind of like escalator thing to bring them up there.
Yeah, because it's all steps up there, so that'd be awesome if, you know, there's a way for some disabled folks to be able to still access the Acropolis.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Probably can't see with the reflection, but
Oh.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think everyone should be able to see this amazing city. So this way, there's a stairway to a cave. Let's see if we can get in. Feels weird being in Athens, walking up steps, and the steps are not made out of marble. And it comes to a dead end. But there is another cave up here that I would imagine used to be able to get to. Here on the north slope of the Acropolis. Ancient chariot. Another like cave entrance up there behind bars. We're at the Theater of Dionysus. Dionysus was the god of wine and winemaking and of the grape. So he loved to celebrate and have a good time. This was not just the first Greek theater. This was the first theater, period. So this is the home of theater, of drama, of so many amazing things. And they even had a statue of Dionysus, which they put in the front row so that he could enjoy the plays in his honor and the sacrifices. And at one time, this even sat, I believe, about 17,000 people. Behind the Theater of Dionysus is the entrance and in the sanctuary to Dionysus. This is the holy or sacred place. Many festivals and celebrations would happen at the Acropolis. One of them was the Great Pantheon, dedicated to the goddess Athena, which would happen every 4 years. I gotta say, 20 euros per person to visit the Acropolis was totally worth it for us. We got here at 7:30, got our ticket at 7:55 when the gates opened, and we're in by 8. And we spent about 4 hours here exploring and having all of these things from mythology come to life right in front of our very eyes. It's definitely worth it, especially if you do some research beforehand. But even if you don't, there's signs and there's plenty of attendants who could point you in the right direction or answer any questions for you. And they're totally amazing and nice, and they ask you where you're from. It's just a great experience. Highly recommend coming to the Acropolis when you're in Athens. Really hope you enjoyed the tour. Put a lot of work into it. Hopefully you got a lot of information out of it. Thank you so much for watching. This is WITY Travels. What could possibly be next?